The next unit is Unit 3, and it's all about the laws of exponents, which does come into play a lot later on. We're going to start easy, and as we progress through the chapter, it's going to get a little more difficult. So when it does get more difficult, it's more about just paying attention to the different ways to approach the problems. So let's get started on exponents day 1. So first off, what is an exponent? Okay. Oh, how'd that happen? The exponent of a number says how many times to use a number in multiplication, right? So when we look at it, if I have like 2 to the third power, all right, this exponent 3 tells me to multiply that base by itself 3 times. And now I can do 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 gives me 8. Okay, so it basically tells you how many times to multiply the base by itself. So when we have it, you have your base to some exponent. Now, if I had repeated multiplication, such as 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, right, I could rewrite this as one base of 4 and raise it to the 4th power. Okay? So if we wanted to take these examples here and write them out as a product, the first one here, 9 to the 5th power, I'm going to multiply 9 by itself 5 times. Okay, 2 to the 8th would be 2 times itself 8 times. All right. Now, n to the 4th, right? That's multiplying itself 4 times. Okay. Now, the thing I want you to realize here is notice the bases, okay? And they're multiplying each other that many times. Well, when you have exponents, numbers tend to grow real quickly, and we'll talk about that more later on. But in this next example, when you look at this, what's in parentheses being raised to this 5th power? -3. Those parentheses mean a lot. You have to keep, when you go to evaluate this, you have to keep that -3 inside the parentheses. Now, the next example, right? What's being raised to the 3rd power? Just the 4. So the way I like to read this problem is that negative is same as -1 times, and now it's going to be 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, that does make a difference in the sign of the answer when you're evaluating these. Then, here, what's being raised to the 3rd power? X plus 2. So we would do x plus 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 2. Okay? Now, if we go to evaluate these, when we say evaluate, we mean simplify to its numeric value. Without a calculator, the way we do it, right? 3 to the 3rd power is 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 would give you 27. Okay, 3 to the 5th would be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now, when I do these, I basically multiply these together, that's 9. Multiply these together, that's 9. 9 times 9 is 81, but I still have to multiply it by this 3. 81 times 3 gives you 243. Okay, try the next one on your phone real quick. Okay, so when we do 6 to the 4th power, you're going to do 6 times 6 times 6 times 6, which gives you 1,296. Now, evaluating gets a little more complicated when we have negatives involved. So when I read this one, I read this just like we said earlier, -1 times 6 squared, which would give me -1 times 36, which is -36. But when we evaluate this one, right? We get negative 6 times negative 6, which is equal to positive 36. Down here, since it's negative 2 to the third, right? We're going to write this out because the negative 2 is in parentheses, right? Now, negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, and 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So you can get a negative here. Then the last one, read this as negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 2, which would give you negative 8. So there's two things that make a difference on your sides. One, what power you're being raised to, and two, where the negative is, inside or outside the parentheses. Now, with fractions, it's not much different, right? Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. All right, we're going to start with one way for today, and we'll work our way different. But this would be 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. And if I multiply across the top, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 3/5 squared. We're going to do 3/5 times 3/5. And 3 times 3 gives you 9. 5 times 5 is 25. Done. And when we do the last one, negative 3/4 to the fourth, we're basically going to take negative 3/4, multiply it by itself 4 times. Okay, negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. All right. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 16 would give you 256. All right. So you're basically expanding these out and multiplying them. Now, anytime we evaluate these expressions, when there's a variable that has to be substituted, it's very important to take that variable and put it in parentheses. So when I'm evaluating this expression, right, I'm going to substitute the 8 in for y using parentheses. Now, in this case, it doesn't make a difference, right? But if that 8 was negative, it would make a huge difference. Now, remember PEMDAS. We always do parentheses, then we do exponents, then we do any multiplication or division, and then any addition or subtraction. So what is 8 squared here? 64. 64 minus 3 gives me 61. Okay, let's do a couple others. Now here, b is 3. Put that in parentheses. So b to the third, we're going to do 3 to the third. Minus 21 all over 5 times 3 plus 9. Now what you have to understand here is we're going to simplify the numerator independently, simplify the denominator independently, and then once we're done with that, we will reduce. So 3 to the third, what is 3 times 3 times 3? That will give us 27. 27 minus 21 would give you 6 over, here we have to do the multiplication first. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 9 is 24. And if I go ahead and reduce that, 6 and 24 are both divisible by 6, which would give you 1/4. Okay, now here is where it's going to really make a difference. I'm going to put this -2 in parentheses and this -4 in parentheses. So when I substitute here, I'm going to replace x with -2 to the fourth plus -4 to the third. So I replace x with -2, replace y with -4. Now I have to do the correct order of operations. So I have to do exponents first. So this becomes 2 times. What is negative 2 to the fourth going to be? Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. I like to multiply in twos, so negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus negative 4 to the third. So negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. What is 16 times negative 4 going to give you? It's going to give you negative 64, so we're going to do minus 64 here. Now, multiplication. 2 times 16 is 32. 32 minus 64 gives you negative 32. So, when we look at this, it's very important to substitute with parentheses, then go ahead and do the order of operations. Okay? Go ahead, get the assignment done, send it to me, and I'll have another video posted soon.